So, what is a GDD and how do we create one for our video game? Just before we start, this video will take much longer time to create, so I'm sorry that there's been a couple of days between videos. That being said, please like, subscribe and share it to your game dev buddies. It helps us to help you. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. A GDD, or a game design document, is a crucial part in the pre-production stage of your game. Most people have a completely different approach to it, but I'll show you my approach as it'll tie in a lot to my game idea document. A link to that will be in the card on the top right. Some people will even leave out a documentation, as it can sometimes waste a lot of time. But, in my opinion, if you're planning a particularly big game, or are working within a team of over 2 or 3 members, you want at least a prototype documentation to go along with it, listing your ideas and plans for the game. Looking back on a well-written GDD is much better than trying to reinvent the wheel, and going back through your memories to find your original ideas. I'll show you how to write an expansive GDD, and of course, you don't need to go into this much detail, but I highly recommend you do if you want to become a game designer, even just as practice if anything else. Let's talk about the subjects it covers, and later on in the video I'll go into detail on each chapter and show you my process of writing and covering all sections of it. So, first off, we want a summary. This is basically your game idea, but expanded tenfold. Then, we want locations and themes and ideas. Thirdly, we want a storyline and characters. This is a crucial introduction to your game, allowing anyone to work on the project to understand the brief outline of the game. Now we want a list of gameplay features to describe each portion of the game properly. Next, we want focal points. What will the player remember and how do we manipulate the brains of the player to constantly move forward? Levels next, displaying what areas of the game are shown. Then we want the interface, what's on your HUD, in your menus and in your credits. Next we want a purpose. Why exactly are you creating the game? Is it a passion project or is it something bigger? Is it a bigger passion project? This is often excluded from many GDDs, but I see it as an important part of it as it allows us to look back on our skill level before and after and ensure we constantly improve. Next, we want references. What media are we going to take inspiration from? List movies, games, books, anything to build out your idea. I don't really like going further than that, but some people will go as far as asset lists at this point, even individual sounds, textures and tiny little features. I like my GDDs to cover all of the bases without boring the people possibly collaborating with me. So let's look at all the points inside each header, and then after I show you, I'll go through each one, how I go around each one, and remember, your design doc should look different to mine. This is a learning experience, not just a copy-paste type of scenario, though that being said, I will leave the template in the description. So, how do we set all that up? I've used a basic Word template as you can see here. I have a decent cover page set up too. In summary, we have the elevator pitch, the idea, the software involved and finally the description. So, what is an elevator pitch? I hear you ask through your tiny little screens. Well, if I were to describe this YouTube channel in under 30 seconds, it'd go a little bit like this. So, have you been struggling in your game development courses? They don't go through everything and you have to search for every little blueprint, modelling tool and texturing idea. Well, SnappyGurus have your back, my friend. We're a one-stop shop for anything game dev, from building your idea to writing a GDD, all the way to publishing your game. If you think it's too good to be true, you couldn't be more wrong. We offer a wide variety of services suggested by your needs. There you go. 30 seconds in an elevator. That's all you need for your game. This allows potential collaborators, investors and publishers to be on board with your game as quick as possible. You've written your idea down, but here is where you'll expand it, going into detail on how your game will be different on the rest, how the player should feel, how the levels progress, use graphs, talk about literally everything, yada yada yada. Software is extremely important to write down. So you'll have a list of things you need to buy, renew or subscribe, and it also helps further down with your legal documentation. The description of the game needs to tell the reader what's happening in a short amount of time. It's kind of like a mix between an elevator pitch and the idea. It's quick, but covers all bases. Telling the reader what exactly they want to collaborate on is extremely important, but please don't waffle. No one likes a waffler. Ooh, what's next? Yes, setting and location. This seems pretty self-explanatory. The environment is where your game is set. Is it in an asylum or in a hospital? Is it abandoned? A ghost town? Where is it? We talking Russia? Nevada? Australia? The jolly Great Britain? It's of course completely up to you. Key locations are locations in your map that present something. This could be a landmark or discovery the player makes when playing your game. Your themes are how horror will present itself to your player. For that, pause this video and go watch the video on instilling fear. Then come back. Trust me, it's worth a watch. That does it for settings and locations. Next is storyline et le character. You know what a storyline is. Keep it brief and in sections. You can easily manipulate it later on. Characters are also pretty important. Hold off on the introductions. I want to know the part they play, what they look like and what they sound like. That's it. I ain't bothered about any tiny story implications a throwaway side character has. Next is gameplay features. This one's a little less self-explanatory, so let's try and properly understand this section. The main features will be the base mechanics of your game. Your inventory system, your movement, torches, guns, that kind of stuff. Secondary will be stuff like having a crouch feature to hide away from enemies. It's probably needed, but can be tested and implemented later on. Your low priority stuff is like random ideas that would kind of work in your game, but also they're not exactly needed. Focal points. Indeed, a trickier subject for sure. Your key focal points are going to be points in your game which make the narrative twist. Maybe a discovery or a little plot twist or something. Make your game interesting, please, because no one will thank you for making a boring one. Uniqueness. Now, I spoke about this a lot on my ideas video, but your idea needs to have something different, or you're making a clone. Now, I'm not saying no one wants another PT, but I would go as far to stretch it's kind of been overdone by now. Manipulation is important. Games are all about manipulation. Say, I'm not going to tell you your first game will be rubbish, because I know you've heard it from anyone else's beginner game development channel. But wait, now I've told you. Does that mean I have told you you're rubbish? Or have I told you I won't tell you you're rubbish? Are you confused now? Am I confused now? Where did that even come from? See, I used a technique of manipulation. I used I won't tell you as a way of telling you without it being from me. Manipulation is a key part of a game. You're trying to manipulate a player's emotions to mimic the exact feelings you're attempting to create. For that reason, I think manipulation in games need to be spoken about more, because often game developers forget they aren't just creating a narrative, they are creating an interactive piece of media which strives to enhance the player's immersion to fully stimulate their brains. So for this I like to list them off. So, okay, what do we want a player to feel in the first 5 minutes of the game? Well, because we want the player to keep playing, we need to use a graph a bit like this. This graph is actually a Dunning-Kruger effect graph, but the graph is applicable to almost anything in life. I enjoy finding common uses for it, so instead of having Mount Stupid at the top, we want to call it something like super high tense action packed start. I think narrative pacing like that often is the key in all media to unlock a really good scary piece of media, but it's even applicable to any genre, honestly. You don't want to overload the player with high tension all the time because eventually they'll get used to it. That's why games like Call of Duty Zombies isn't scary to you anymore. But remember when you got windmilled the first time? When you first saw a runner? You were petrified. Your interface is self-explanatory. You talk about all of your buttons, slots and graphics. It's important to get a good grasp of this before you start. Your purpose is kind of an existential overview on why you're creating this experience. Why do you want to make the project? Is it to enhance your skills? To release your passion to the world? Or do you have a meta-changing concept that will change the game industry forever? I've already gone deep into the scope of the project in my game idea video, so check that out if you want to go further. The player's experience is what you create games for. They're a form of entertainment, so you need to think heavily on how it will tie in with your target audience and how their experience will change throughout the course of the game. References are anything you can relate your game to and what you can take inspiration from. Your inspirations will be types of media you want to directly steal, develop and adapt to fit in with your game. For instance, if I looked at the game We Happy Few, I really love the art style of that game. So I might go ahead and say I want to create a similar art style to We Happy Few. Art style will be how you develop that artwork to work it within a particular style. This is especially important when working in a big team. You don't want a highly realistic table and then a really low poly chair. Your music is similar sounds you can sample from or develop. For instance, I could say I really enjoy the music in Life is Strange and adapt that to work within my world. And finally, what type of game are you creating? What's your gameplay like? If possible, could you make a vertical slice to understand how it will be played? How long each section is? And how hard the difficulty will be? My last section, I like to add an intentionally blank spot to allow for any extra information later down the line. So let's look at it as a whole. See, it's a long task, but it will speed up your communication with your team tenfold. And it will trace back to things you thought now, so you don't have to rack your brains to remember everything towards the end of development. I'll make a template available, and I'll also leave the full GDD for our game open to view, so anyone can look at the development of our game.